Hi, I'm Amy Ford, and I wanted to share with you a little bit about my background and how I came to be an accounting professor and an accounting professional. So my story is maybe unique in that I come from a really small town. Now I know some of you are thinking, oh yeah, my town's not that big. No, my town is tiny. 800 people. Where I grew up, very small town in Illinois, so farming community. My graduating class in high school had 35 people. Growing up in that environment really shaped the person that I am and the accountant that I am. My dad tells a story of, I was in kindergarten, and in kindergarten everybody's learning like the alphabet and basic words, and then when you get to math you're learning your numbers, maybe like 1 plus 2, and my dad was like, no, you were learning your multiplication tables when you were in kindergarten. And I always laugh because I really don't remember that at all, but it just kind of reminds me that from a very young age I was good at math, and that sometimes is something that women aren't as strong in, or women aren't as promoted in the kind of those STEM activities, right? Now, just because you're good at math, is that going to mean you're going to be a good accountant? Not necessarily. There's so much more to being an accountant. And that's where growing up in a small town really shaped the person and the communicator and the manager and all those other skills that are necessary to be successful in business. So being from a small town, you got to be involved in a lot of different things. So for example, growing up, I did all kinds of different sports. I played softball, I played basketball, volleyball, I ran track. I'm not really that great at any of those things. Let's just be honest. But when you're from a small town, it takes 5 people to play basketball. There were only 6 of us in my whole class. It's an experience that you don't always get to have when you're in a large community. How does playing middle school basketball make me a better accountant? Well, I was a part of a team. In business, don't we have to be parts of a team, working together, communicating, working towards a common goal? So being part of a sports team when you're 12 years old helps you develop skills that you need later in life. All through middle school and high school, I was a cheerleader. And I laugh doing the Gleim Instruct videos. I tend to smile a lot, and I think that that's just because I was a cheerleader. I had a lot of great cheerleaders in my life too. I've had educators from elementary school all the way through college who helped me. And I think my teaching style takes a little bit of each one of those people. So I had a lot of great women who encouraged me to sit for the CPA exam. I can still remember sitting in a professor's office and saying, I don't know if I should do this. I don't know if I can. She looked at me, she's like, Amy, you can do this. That was a really pivotal moment in my life. Yes, you can do this. You should sit for the CPA exam. Now, here's a little fact that you might not know. I am a first-generation college student. Neither of my parents graduated from college, but it's a little apprehensive going in as a first-generation college student. That's where having your advisors, having peer groups, getting involved. So when I was at the university as a student, I was active in Beta Alpha Psi. Now that's the professional business fraternity for accounting and finance professionals. I was the president of Beta Alpha Psi, and that really gave me a lot of opportunity to get to know other people, to be involved on campus. So I always tell people when they're looking at college, get involved. Now that goes beyond the college years. So this is all building up to this atmosphere of if you're active, if you're engaged, if you're involved, if you're volunteering, when you get out of college and become a young professional, or like me, I'm not quite a young professional anymore, I'm more of like an average professional. I'm not an old professional. I wouldn't use that at all. But seriously, you still engage in those outside activities. Now, where has that taken me? I help a local not-for-profit organization with some of their accounting. Hey, I'm helping people, I'm helping with accounting, those are my skill sets. It's really enjoyable. I volunteer with my children's activities, because I'm in that small town. I'm still in that small town, by the way. Can you believe that? So I attended Western Illinois University in Macomb, Illinois, and that's actually where I teach now today. So I took a traditional path. I went in right as an accounting major. I always knew I wanted to be an accountant. So I took a very traditional route. I had to have the 150 hours. That was the choice that I had to make as I was planning out my college career. So I got my undergraduate degree in accounting, and then I stayed for my master's degree. I have a master's of accountancy as well from Western Illinois University. And within a 1-week time period, I graduated from the university with my master's degree and sat for the 2-day, that's like 16 hours of testing for the CPA exam. And I passed all 4 parts on my first try, and I was a CPA. So after that, I had my CPA, I had my master's in accountancy. I went to work at a mid-sized accounting firm in public accounting. So I worked as an auditor for several years, about 5 years as an auditor in a public accounting firm. And out of the blue, I had a phone call from the university that they were needing an instructor. And it was like July, and they needed an instructor in August. And so, I went back and I thought, what do I really enjoy? What do I enjoy most? I like accounting. And this is what I always tell people. I like accounting. I like debits and credits. I like numbers. But I love teaching. So if I get to teach accounting, it's like the best thing in the world for me. So I've been teaching at Western Illinois University, my alma mater, for 13 years now. You might also say, well, wait a second, when did you get that CMA? Well, I was back at the university teaching. I was teaching managerial accounting, and I was like, wait a second, what's the CMA, Certified Management Accountant? Maybe I should learn about this. So I started learning about the CMA exam, and I thought, you know what, this is a great certification. I think my students should be taking this exam. So in order to mentor my students, in order to help other people, I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna take the exam. So a lot of years after graduating and going to school, I was teaching accounting and I sat for the CMA exam. And so I've been a CMA since 2011. When I was working in public accounting, I had a baby in the middle of busy season. I know, I didn't plan that very well, did I? But it was all good. I was very supported. I actually worked under 2 female managers. These 2 women, shaped my career, and they were both moms. So it was really great to work in public accounting where they understood if I needed some flexible hours or I needed to work from home, and they loved to see baby pictures too, so that was okay too. Now that I'm at the university, that work-life balance continues to be something that I have to balance. I have teaching, a full-time job is teaching, I have my students, and I have my family, and I have my volunteer activities, and it's really hard to say no. It's really hard for me to say no. And so I have had to find that, because I'm very analytical, there's only so many time spots in a calendar, and you have to make sure that you plan for time that's downtime. You can't fill every spot with every possible activity. So the message that I want to share with you is that to be successful, it takes a lot of different characteristics. You have to be able to communicate. You have to be a member of a team. You have to make sure that you're balancing your work-life balance. Think about the steps. Did I get here in a day? No, I'm getting old. It's been much more than even a few years to get to the point where I'm at. But it's important that I think about each step along the career path and how that's gonna build your skills. So this job is building the skills for the next job. And that volunteer activity that you're working on, that's giving you skills managing a team so that when you're ready to manage a team in your workplace environment, you've got some experience. So make sure that you take each step along your career path and build those skills to be a successful accountant in your future.